Hello, welcome back to another tabletop talk and draw. Today we're going to tackle a cover for Lewis Porter Designs, and he gave me permission to do this. So one of the things you see is he sent me this image of Phoenix. I just wanted to interrupt and say that the Godlike and the sides were Lewis's design. That is not part of the original X-Men cover. That is something that we are working, so that's why the dimensions were so important here. Um, a frame of reference that's slightly larger than what is there, so I have a little bit of wiggle room, and we can crop it down to be that vertical column that Phoenix is sitting in at the moment. So this is just sort of my preliminary thing, and then what I do is I take it up to 600 dpi and I increase the size. Yeah, I think I was up to about 13 inches instead of like 8 inches, which the image came in as, because I like to work at 600 dpi. So I sent Lewis some thumbnails, six in total. So this is the first four. These are just marker comps that I did fairly quickly, sort of using the Phoenix idea of really keeping her in shadow, but we don't have the advantage of a really established character like Phoenix or Dark Phoenix. We're making someone up from whole cloth. So can I get some iconography in there? So Lewis actually picked the third one of the first four, which was my favorite, and and it was funny because when we were doing the emails, um, I didn't say anything because I thought it was such a radical departure from the cover that he sent me and most of the other thumbnail concepts. So, unfortunately, I screwed up a little bit, and my real early preliminary drawing wasn't recording. We start a little bit ahead of where I actually started from. So I apologize about that. You see, there's a blue line up above her head. That is to make sure I don't put anything super important above that line, because that's where the godlike chaos effect godlike title is going. Um, I had a lot of trouble with this hand, and you'll see me come back to it time and time again. Her right hand was driving me crazy. Um, uh, so yeah, we'll come back to that. This is time lapse, and so yeah, I'm moving things fairly quickly. I got a little earth here. Drop it in, clean that up a little bit. Just get rid of that little brown spot on there. Um, Again, I didn't like the hand. Going back, this is a good time to say, hey, if you like this type of content, if you're interested, please, like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Yep. Now I'm just trying to work in those shadows. This is going to be a more of a painterly type approach, even though it's a comic book character. I'm not doing black outline. I'm not doing inking. I am doing, I brought some Kirby space of things that I found just to have as reference and think about it. Um, so the preliminary drawing there is set to multiply, and so whatever I do underneath it will bleed through. She'll continue. So I'm just trying to get some weird cosmic stuff, because this, the whole concept is this sort of godlike figure, cosmic figure, and how do we do that? And yeah, I decided that she would have green eyes and sort of Gaia like um, effect. And when you think of green, you think of life and stuff. Throw in some stars. You know this kind of I blurred the stars a little bit. Just this blurring takes a while. This is a 10 times time lapse, and this is how long it's taking my machine to crunch all those stars and blur them a little bit. So yeah, bear with me there. I don't know why the screen went black there, but that's okay. Um, Yep, and it's just a continually sort of creeping up on what I'm doing, putting in a little bit of highlights. You'll see that I'll put those highlights in, and then I'll come back with a blur tool and blur them a little bit to get a nice transition. Um, just I just wanted her to read a little bit more. Um, the hair is going to kind of be evolving into some kind of cosmic sort of, gaseous cloud or something like that. I didn't want to ape Kirby because Kirby comes from a real, linear black and white ink style. And then, the color, of course, was done with ruby lith back in the '60s and early '70s and stuff. We didn't have computers back then, and so it's there's something very um, graphic about that process. And this is a painterly process, but I did want to keep Kirby's cosmic sort of ideas in mind. In fact, I have a couple of brushes that are Kirby Crackle that I'll use here and there. So again, I'm starting to really kind of lay in some texture into the whole painting, and I'm just kind of being real loose and free and trying to, I'm not worried about. You can see how many layers I have. It's kind of crazy. I mean, three of them happen to be a reference. I push the. One of the things that Lewis said was he wanted, instead of the red of the X-Men Phoenix cover, was to kind of keep it in blue tones. So here I am drawing the hand again, and yeah, we're gonna do it even one more time. Still doesn't really work. That angle is really difficult because the forearm is kind of coming towards us a little bit, and then the hand is sort of going away, and then she's got her other hand, her left hand is in the extreme foreground, or not extreme foreground, but the foreground, so it's bigger. So I had to really kind of play with, is this hand, the right hand, is it big enough, or at the moment it feels too small. I'm just looking at it, and actually what I did was I told Lewis that I would be done on a certain day, and I sort of reneged on that, and because I wanted to sleep on it, and I stopped drawing the hand after a while, and came back the next morning, and you'll see later on that I actually shoot my own hand, and I included that reference. Um, and my wife comes in and she says, "You're not going to draw her hands like your hands, right?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just using it as a guideline. My hands are very masculine, and we don't want that." So, yeah, a lot of hand work there. A lot of time went into that hand, and it didn't really pay off. There was a little bit of Kirby Crackle on the forearm just to kind of blur things and make things kind of ephemeral or ethereal and stuff like that. Um, I have some nice sort of stringy line tool. I think it's called a wet hairbrush, um, that I use in the hair. That's really nice. I downloaded a lot of these clip art brushes are available online. Some for free. I've actually purchased a few from developers that I admired. You saw me play with the tones a little bit, and imported my Kirby Crackle here. Played with it. I it's you know Here I'm trying to get the size of the particles to feel all right, um, because they were coming in way too big. So sometimes you got to play around with the brushes, and kind of feel them out, um, and you know determine what you like. Again, I tilt. I've said this before, but I often tilt the frame of reference because my wrist won't quite work the way. And here's my hand reference. Just really quickly, there's my hand reference, and I flip it, and then I put it, I make its own layer, and so I can kind of work from it, and this helps a lot. You know, I think Wally Wood said, why draw when you can trace, and why something to that effect. And I'm not tracing my hand. I didn't want to, because my hand is like I said, very masculine. There's lots of little, I'm an old guy, and there's lots of little uh divots and stuff like that, and we wanted this hand to sit in the background a bit, and so I wanted that kind of blocked in ephemeral. But to just, The lighting on my hand is completely wrong. So I had to, use my imagination and flip the lighting. And so I'm just trying to get a little bit more graphic here, and um, in that shape. I'm not being super super detailed. Like her thumb, there's a blue. That's a solid blue going up the shaft of the thumb to make one shape. Again, um, I sent this off. Lewis said, it's a little dark. Can we lighten it up? And I play around a lot with different tones and stuff like that. And I eventually come back to the blues, but I do punch up her darks and I lighten the background. And this is just constant, play, and that red didn't work. I tried doing some overlays to see if that worked, and I didn't like it. I loved the blue green, but I needed a way for her to come forward a bit more and be, you know, really dark. So I went in there and I'm actually painting behind the multiply layer at the moment with yet another layer to darken her up, and I think we're starting to sort of get the contrast that I wanted. Um and yeah, this is I had the image that I had sent originally to Lewis. You'll see, you saw a couple of flashes of that. He sent it back with the trade dress, all the title and stuff like that on. And I just looked at it to make sure, am I getting a bit more contrast in there? Is this light enough? Is it, and I'm feeling like, yeah, this is starting to read right. And there's the final image. And then Lewis sent back the trade dress and all that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more. Keep on keeping on.